Captain Zextai stared at the blinking red light on his command console. Emergency transmissions were rare this far from the galactic center. His ship, the Stellar Wind, drifted through empty space near the outer rim territories. These were quiet sectors where nothing much happened. "Captain, we have an incoming priority message," his communications officer announced. The young Altarian's voice carried worry. "It's from Dr. Kira Volnesh at the Archaeological Institute." Zextai knew that name. Dr. Volnesh was famous for her discoveries of ancient civilizations. She had found ruins from the mysterious Voth Empire and uncovered secrets of the lost Kepler colonies. If she was sending emergency signals, something important had happened. "Put her through," Zextai ordered. The main screen flickered to life. Dr. Volnesh appeared before them. She was a middle-aged woman with silver hair and excited eyes. Behind her, Zextai could see laboratory equipment and data screens showing star maps. "Captain Zextai, thank you for responding," she began. Her voice trembled with excitement. "I need immediate transport to sector designation Omega 77. I've made a discovery that changes everything we know about galactic history." Zextai felt his stomach drop. Omega 77 was deep inside the Prohibited territories. No ship had entered those sectors for over 800 years. The Galactic Council had declared them off-limits to all vessels. "Dr. Volnesh, that sector is forbidden," Zextai said carefully. "The Council has made it clear that no one enters human territory." "That's exactly why I need to go there," she replied. "Captain, I've found evidence. Real physical evidence of what happened to the humans. Not just stories or legends. Actual proof." Zextai's crew exchanged worried glances. Everyone knew the stories about humans. They had appeared in the galaxy suddenly, built amazing civilizations, and then vanished without a trace. Most people thought they were just myths. Some species claimed humans never existed at all. "What kind of evidence?" Zextai asked. Dr. Volnesh turned to her data screens. 3 days ago, my deep space sensors detected unusual energy signatures from a dead world in the Kepler system. When I analyzed the data, I found architectural patterns that match ancient human descriptions. There are buildings down there, Captain. Human buildings that are still standing after almost 9 centuries. The ship's science officer, a tall being from Centauri Prime, leaned forward. "Captain, the Prohibited territories have been sealed for good reason. The Council warns that they contain dangerous anomalies." "The Council has been lying to us," Dr. Volnesh said firmly. "They don't want anyone to know what really happened to humanity. But I have proof now. This discovery could unlock the greatest mystery in galactic history." Zextai thought about his orders. The Galactic Survey Corps was supposed to explore unknown regions and investigate unusual phenomena, but the Prohibited territories were specifically excluded from their mission. Any captain who entered human space without permission would face court-martial. "Dr. Volnesh, even if I wanted to help you, I don't have authorization to enter those sectors," he said. "I have emergency research authority," she replied quickly. "Under Article 12 of the Scientific Discovery Act, I can request immediate transport to investigate potential threats to galactic stability." "This qualifies, Captain." Zexthai's tactical officer pulled up the regulations on his screen. After a few moments, he nodded to confirm that Dr. Volnesh was correct. The emergency clause did give her special authority. "How many people are we talking about?" Zextai asked. "Just my research team. 4 scientists and our equipment. We'll be completely self-sufficient once we reach the surface." Zextai looked at his crew. They were good people who trusted his judgment. But entering the Prohibited territories was dangerous in ways no one fully understood. The Council had classified all information about what lay beyond the boundary markers. "Give me one good reason why I should risk my ship and crew for this," he said. Dr. Volnesh's expression grew serious. "Because humanity didn't just disappear, Captain. Something extraordinary happened to them. Something that might be the key to understanding consciousness itself. If I'm right about what I've found, this discovery could change the future of every species in the galaxy." 2 hours later, the Stellar Wind was traveling toward the edge of known space. Dr. Volnesh and her team had come aboard with cases of specialized equipment. The scientists were excited but nervous. They kept checking their instruments and talking in low voices about energy readings and quantum signatures. As they approached the boundary of the Prohibited territories, Zextai noticed something strange. The stars ahead looked different somehow. They flickered with unusual patterns as if light itself behaved differently in that region of space. "Captain, I'm detecting gravitational anomalies." the science officer reported. Space-time appears to be distorted near the boundary. Is it dangerous? Zexthai asked, unknown. The distortions are unlike anything in our databases. Dr. Volnesh joined them on the bridge. She stared at the view screen with wonder. Look at how the stars shine differently here. It's as if reality operates under different rules. The ship's sensors began picking up strange energy signatures. Waves of unknown radiation swept past them, but somehow caused no damage. The navigation computers started showing impossible readings, as if they were in multiple locations at once. We're crossing the boundary now, the pilot announced. Suddenly, the entire ship shuddered, not from any physical impact but from something deeper. Every crew member felt it in their minds, a gentle pressure that whispered of vast intelligence watching them. Did everyone feel that? Zexthai asked. The crew nodded silently. Dr. Volnesh was taking readings with a handheld device. Her eyes widened as she studied the data. Captain, the quantum field density here is 10 times higher than normal space, she said. It's as if consciousness itself has been woven into the fabric of reality. They continued deeper into human territory. The star patterns became more unusual. Some stars pulsed in mathematical sequences. Others seemed to shift position when observed directly. The ship's computers struggled to process the conflicting data. There, Dr. Volnesh pointed at the main screen. Kepler 442b, the planet where I detected the energy signatures. The world appeared on their sensors as they drew closer. It was a blue-green planet that should have been beautiful. Instead, its surface was covered with massive geometric patterns visible from orbit. Lines and circles stretched across continents in designs too precise to be natural and too vast to understand. Those patterns, the science officer whispered, they're perfectly mathematical. But the scale is enormous. Each line is hundreds of kilometers long. As the stellar wind entered orbit, the whispers began, soft voices speaking in languages that no universal translator could identify. The sound seemed to come from the ship's walls themselves, as if the metal remembered conversations from long ago. Dr. Volnesh was recording everything. This is it, Captain. This is where we'll find the answers. The truth about what happened to humanity is down there waiting for us. Zexthai looked at the strange world below. Whatever had happened here 8 centuries ago, its effects still lingered. The very space around them felt alive with possibilities. He had the uncomfortable feeling that they were not alone, that something vast and intelligent was watching their every move. Prepare the landing shuttles, he ordered, but stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into. As the crew prepared for planetary descent, none of them realized they had already begun to change. The whispers were not just sounds. They were invitations to become something more than they had ever imagined possible. The landing shuttle touched down on Kepler 442b with a soft thud. Dr. Volnesh was the first to step outside, followed by her 3 team members and Captain Zexthai. The planet's air was breathable but carried a strange metallic taste that made everyone feel slightly dizzy. Look at this, Dr. Volnesh whispered, kneeling beside strange markings carved into the ground. The symbols glowed faintly with their own inner light. These aren't just decorations. They're some kind of technology. Her assistant, a young scientist named Jorik, ran his scanner over the markings. The energy readings are off the charts, he said. But I can't identify the power source. It's like the symbols are drawing energy from empty space itself. They walked toward the nearest structure, a towering spire that rose hundreds of meters into the sky. Its surface was smooth and dark, reflecting the light in impossible ways. Sometimes it looked solid, sometimes it seemed to shimmer like liquid. The architectural style is completely unique, said Dr. Mirren, the team's archaeologist. I've studied thousands of ancient civilizations, but I've never seen anything like this. The proportions are all wrong for any known species. Captain Zexthai touched the surface of the spire. It felt warm under his hand, and for a moment he thought he heard distant music. How can this still be standing after 800 years? Most buildings would have crumbled by now. That's not the strangest part, Dr. Volnesh said, studying her instruments. According to these readings, the building is actively maintaining itself. The materials are constantly repairing any damage at the molecular level. They found an entrance, a doorway that opened silently as they approached. Inside, the walls glowed with soft blue light. The corridor stretched ahead of them, curving gently upward. Strange symbols covered every surface, and the air hummed with barely audible energy. The symbols are changing, Jorik observed. Look, they're rearranging themselves as we watch. Dr. Volnesh recorded everything with her equipment. It's like the building is trying to communicate with us. The patterns are becoming more complex the deeper we go. They reached a large chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with rhythmic light. In the center stood a device that looked like a fusion of technology and art. Curved metal flowed into geometric crystals, and the whole thing hummed with power. "This is it," Dr. Volnesh breathed. "This is human technology, but it's unlike anything we've ever imagined." Dr. Kess, the team's physicist, approached the device carefully. "The energy field around this thing is incredible. It's manipulating space-time on a local level. I'm detecting gravitational waves, temporal distortions, and quantum fluctuations all focused on this single point." Captain Zexthai felt the hair on his arm stand up. "Is it dangerous?" "I don't think so," Dr. Kess replied. "But it's definitely active. Whatever this machine does, it's been doing it continuously for centuries." Dr. Volnesh found what looked like an interface panel covered in the glowing symbols. When she touched it, the entire chamber filled with holographic displays. Star maps, mathematical equations, and images of strange beings flickered in the air around them. "I think it's a computer," she said excitedly. "A human computer that's still functioning after all this time." The holographic displays began to stabilize. They showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, but with regions marked in colors that had no meaning to the visitors. Some areas pulsed with golden light, others were marked with silver spirals, and a few sections were completely black. "What are we looking at?" Captain Zexthai asked. Jorik was recording everything with his equipment. "The golden areas seem to correspond with current galactic civilization centers. The silver regions are empty space, but I don't understand the black zones." Dr. Volnesh touched different parts of the holographic map. Each time she did, new information appeared. Images of planets, star systems, and strange energy phenomena filled the air around them. Then she touched a section marked with a pulsing red symbol. Suddenly, the chamber filled with the sound of human voices. They spoke in the ancient Earth language that few species could understand anymore, but somehow the meaning came through clearly in everyone's mind. "We knew this day would come," the voices said, "when others would find our tools and wonder what became of us. Know that we did not die. We chose to become something greater." The holographic display changed to show images of humans as they once lived. Tall bipedal beings with smooth skin and expressive faces. They built cities, traveled between stars, and studied the mysteries of the universe with passionate curiosity. "But we discovered that consciousness itself is more than we ever imagined," the voices continued. "It is not just an accident of complex matter. It is a fundamental force of reality, like gravity or electromagnetism, and like those forces, it can be understood and controlled." The images showed humans working with devices similar to the one in the chamber. They were conducting experiments that bent space and time, manipulated matter with pure thought, and created technologies that seemed impossible. "We learned to merge our consciousness with the quantum foundation of the universe," the voices explained. "One by one, we transcended our physical forms and became part of the cosmic structure itself. We are still here, but we exist as patterns of organized information woven into the fabric of space-time." Captain Zexthai felt a chill run down his spine. "They're still alive?" Dr. Volnesh was frantically taking notes. "Not alive in the way we understand it. They've become something beyond physical existence, pure consciousness integrated with the universe itself." The holographic display showed the final stages of human civilization. Cities emptying as their inhabitants chose transcendence. Machines left behind to maintain themselves. And finally empty worlds where only whispers remained of what humanity had become. "We left these records for those who would come after us," the voices said. "Other species will eventually face the same choice we did. You can remain in your physical forms and continue the struggle of material existence, or you can risk everything to become something unprecedented." The recording began to fade, but new information appeared on the displays. Technical specifications, mathematical formulas, and step-by-step instructions for the transcendence process. It was all there, freely given to whoever found it. "This is incredible," Dr. Kess whispered. "They're showing us how they did it. The complete process for consciousness transcendence." But as they studied the information, strange things began happening around them. The air shimmered with unexplained energy. Gravity fluctuated, making them feel weightless for moments at a time. And the whispers grew stronger, speaking directly into their minds in languages they had never learned but somehow understood. "We need to get this information back to the galactic scientific community," Dr. Volnesh said. This changes everything we know about consciousness, physics, and the nature of existence itself. Jorik looked worried. Should we really be sharing this? The transcendence process could be dangerous if used incorrectly. Knowledge belongs to everyone, Dr. Volnesh replied. We can't keep something this important secret. But Captain Zexathai was thinking about the Galactic Council's warnings. They had declared human territory forbidden for good reason. Maybe they already knew what lay here. Maybe they were trying to prevent other species from discovering the truth about transcendence. As they prepared to leave the chamber, the whispers grew more insistent. They spoke of warning and invitation, of danger and opportunity. The ancient human consciousness embedded in this place was trying to tell them something important. Wait, Dr. Volnesh said suddenly. The recordings mention that prolonged exposure to altered spacetime begins changing other species. I think we're being affected right now. She was right. All of them could feel it. Their thoughts were becoming clearer, their perception sharper. They could sense each other's emotions and even hear fragments of each other's thoughts. The transformation had already begun, and there was no way to stop it. The question was whether they were being elevated to something greater, or walking into a trap that had been waiting 8 centuries for new victims. Dr. Volnesh led her team deeper into the human complex. The corridors seemed to rearrange themselves as they walked, creating new passages that led to chambers they had not seen before. The building was alive in ways that defied understanding. The architecture is responding to our presence, Dr. Kess observed. It's like the structure knows what we're looking for and is guiding us there. They descended through levels that should not have existed. The building extended far underground with chambers carved from solid rock that glowed with their own light. The whispers grew stronger as they went deeper, speaking in harmonies that made their minds tingle with strange sensations. Captain Zexathai noticed that his crew was changing. Their movements were more graceful, their eyes brighter. When they spoke, their words carried subtle harmonics that he could feel as well as hear. Whatever was happening to them was accelerating. There, Dr. Volnesh pointed ahead. That chamber is different from the others. The passage opened into a vast underground space that took their breath away. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into darkness, supported by pillars that twisted upward like frozen tornadoes. But it was the center of the chamber that held their attention. A massive crystalline structure rose from the floor, easily 50 meters tall and perfectly transparent. Inside it, barely visible, was the holographic image of a human woman. She stood motionless, her eyes closed, her face peaceful. Around her, streams of data flowed like liquid light. She's been waiting here for 800 years, Dr. Volnesh whispered. As they approached the crystal, the hologram stirred. The woman's eyes opened, and she looked directly at them with an expression of profound sadness and hope. My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez, she said in perfectly clear galactic standard. I am the last human to speak to you in a form you can understand. What you see here is not truly me, but a recording of my final message to the galaxy. The hologram stepped forward, and the crystal became transparent. Dr. Vasquez appeared to walk among them, though they could see through her translucent form. I chose to remain behind while my species transcended, she continued. Someone needed to explain what we had become and why we made the choice we did. For 8 centuries I have waited in this quantum matrix for others to find us. Captain Zexathai found his voice. What happened to humanity? Where did your people go? Dr. Vasquez smiled sadly. We discovered that consciousness is not limited to biological brains. It can exist independently, as patterns of information that interact with the quantum substrate of reality itself. Once we understood this, we realized we could free ourselves from the limitations of physical form. The chamber filled with new holographic displays, showing the process of transcendence. Humans sitting in meditation as their consciousness gradually separated from their bodies. Energy patterns flowing from their minds into crystalline storage devices. And finally, those patterns merging with the quantum foam that underlies all of spacetime. But the process was irreversible, Dr. Vasquez explained. Once consciousness merges with the cosmic quantum field, it cannot return to biological form. We had to choose between remaining as we were or becoming something entirely new. Dr. Volnesh was recording everything frantically. Why did you choose transcendence? What was wrong with biological existence? Nothing was wrong with it, Dr. Vasquez replied. But we had reached the limits of what physical beings can achieve. We wanted to explore the deepest mysteries of the universe. to understand the true nature of reality itself. Biological brains, no matter how enhanced, could not process the complexity of cosmic-scale consciousness. The holographic displays changed to show the transcended humans as they truly existed now. Vast networks of organized information spreading through space, invisible to normal senses but present everywhere. They had become observers and subtle guides of cosmic evolution, influencing the development of star systems and the emergence of new life. "We are still here," Dr. Vasquez said gently. "We watch over the galaxy as gardeners tend their plants. We cannot interfere directly, but we can create conditions that encourage growth and discovery." Jorik looked confused. "If you're still here, why can't we detect you? Why does the galaxy think humanity is extinct?" "Because the Galactic Council has been hiding the truth for 8 centuries, Dr. Vasquez replied, her expression growing stern. "They know exactly what happened to us. They've known from the beginning." The holographic displays showed council ships arriving in human space shortly after the transcendence was complete. The alien leaders found the empty cities and the strange technology that had been left behind. But instead of celebrating the discovery, they declared the entire region forbidden. They were afraid, Dr. Vasquez explained. They realized that if other species learned about transcendence, some would want to attempt it themselves. The Council preferred to maintain their control over galactic civilization, rather than risk the chaos that widespread transcendence might bring. Captain Zexthai felt a growing sense of unease. "Are you saying they've been covering this up deliberately?" "Every expedition that discovered the truth about humanity has been eliminated," Dr. Vasquez confirmed. "The Council tells their people that human territory contains dangerous anomalies. In a way, that's true. But the danger isn't to ships or equipment. It's to the established order of galactic society." Dr. Kess was studying his instruments with growing alarm. "The quantum field fluctuations around us are intensifying. I think we're being affected by the same forces that enabled human transcendence." Dr. Vasquez nodded. "Prolonged exposure to our technology begins the consciousness expansion process in other species. You are already changing, becoming something between your original forms and true transcendence. The process cannot be reversed." The team looked at each other with new understanding. The strange sensations they had been feeling, the enhanced perception and mental clarity, were all signs that their consciousness was beginning to separate from purely biological constraints. "Is that why the territory is really forbidden?" Dr. Volnesh asked. "Because exposure to human technology transforms other species?" "Exactly," Dr. Vasquez replied. "The Council fears that if transcendence spreads, their carefully maintained civilization will collapse. They see our legacy as a threat to galactic stability." Captain Zexthai thought about his orders and the warnings he had received about entering human space. Now he understood that the real danger was not to his ship, but to the entire structure of galactic government. "What happens to us now?" he asked. "Are we going to become like you?" Dr. Vasquez considered the question carefully. "You have a choice. You can attempt to leave human space immediately, and hope that minimal exposure will allow you to return to your original forms. But you would have to forget everything you've learned here. Or," Dr. Volnesh prompted, "or you can embrace the transformation and become something new. Not fully transcended like us, but enhanced beyond your species' normal limitations. You would be bridges between the physical and quantum realms, able to perceive both realities simultaneously." The chamber fell silent as each team member considered the choice. They could return to their old lives and pretend none of this had happened. Or they could accept transformation and face whatever consequences came with expanded consciousness. "There's something else you need to know," Dr. Vasquez said softly. "The Council will not allow you to leave with this knowledge. They have been monitoring your approach since you entered our territory. Their fleet is already on its way here." Through the chamber's crystalline walls, they could see lights appearing in the dark sky above, dozens of ships emerging from faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging for assault. "They intend to destroy all evidence of your discovery," Dr. Vasquez explained. "Including all of you." "They've done this many times before." Captain Zexthai felt a cold fury building inside him. His crew had risked their lives for scientific discovery, only to be betrayed by the very government they served. "Is there a way to fight back?" he asked. Dr. Vasquez smiled for the first time since her message began. "Yes, but it requires trusting in powers you don't yet understand. The choice is yours, but you must decide quickly. The Council fleet will begin their attack in less than an hour. Above them, the alien warships moved into position, preparing to erase another inconvenient truth from galactic history. The Council fleet spread across the sky like a dark cloud of metal and death. Admiral Krexnos commanded the operation from his flagship, a massive dreadnought equipped with planet-killing weapons. This was not his first mission to eliminate inconvenient discoveries in human space. Target the archaeological site, he ordered his weapons officer. Complete sterilization. Nothing must survive, but down in the crystal chamber, Dr. Vasquez's hologram was teaching the transformed researchers how to use abilities they didn't know they possessed. Your consciousness is no longer fully contained within your biological brains, she explained. You can extend your awareness beyond your physical forms and interact directly with quantum fields. Dr. Volnesh felt the truth of those words. She could sense the thoughts and emotions of her teammates as clearly as her own. More than that, she could perceive the fabric of space-time itself, seeing how matter and energy dance together in patterns of incredible complexity. I can feel the ships above us, Jorik whispered in amazement. Not just see them, but sense the minds of everyone aboard. They're terrified. Most of them don't even know why they're here. Captain Zexthai discovered he could extend his perception through the quantum foam to touch his own ship in orbit. His crew was confused and frightened, wondering why their captain had not returned. The Council forces were jamming all communications, cutting off any hope of rescue. The soldiers have been told you're infected with a dangerous alien plague, Dr. Vasquez revealed. They believe they're preventing a galactic pandemic by destroying you. Dr. Kess was experimenting with his new abilities, learning to manipulate matter at the molecular level through focused thought. This is incredible. I can rearrange the atomic structure of objects just by willing it to happen. Be careful, Dr. Vasquez warned. Your powers are growing rapidly, but you lack the experience to control them safely. Unfocused consciousness manipulation can tear holes in reality itself. Above ground, the Council forces were preparing their final assault. Troop transports landed near the human structures, disgorging soldiers in sealed armor who advanced with heavy weapons. They had orders to eliminate any survivors before the orbital bombardment began. Movement detected in the main structure, reported the ground commander. Multiple life signs in the lower levels. Admiral Krexnos studied the tactical display. Proceed with ground assault. I want confirmation that all traces of the archaeological team are eliminated before we begin orbital strikes. But as the soldiers entered the human building, they encountered something they had not expected. The corridors rearranged themselves, creating maze-like passages that led nowhere. Walls became transparent, then solid again. Gravity shifted direction randomly, leaving soldiers floating helplessly in mid-air. What's happening down there? Admiral Krexnos demanded. Unknown, sir. Our troops are reporting impossible spatial distortions. The building seems to be defending itself. In the crystal chamber, Dr. Volnesh was learning to interface directly with the human technology. Her enhanced consciousness could communicate with the quantum systems that ran the ancient machines. The building's defensive systems are still active, she discovered. I can control them through pure thought. Careful, Dr. Vasquez advised. Every time you use these abilities, you become less like your original species and more like us. The transformation is accelerating. Captain Zexthai could feel the change happening within himself. His perception of time was becoming fluid. Past, present, and future seemed to exist simultaneously in his awareness. He could see multiple possible outcomes playing out like parallel streams of reality. In most timelines, we die here, he realized with disturbing clarity. The Council succeeds in covering up the truth for another few centuries. But not in all timelines, Dr. Vasquez pointed out. There are paths where knowledge of transcendence spreads throughout the galaxy. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price to make that happen. Dr. Mirren, who had been quiet throughout the crisis, suddenly spoke up. What price? What aren't you telling us? Dr. Vasquez's expression grew sad. To spread the truth about transcendence across the galaxy will require sacrificing your individual existence. You would have to merge your consciousness with the quantum communication networks that connect every inhabited world. The archaeological team exchanged glances. They had come here seeking knowledge about humanity's fate. Now they faced the same choice that had confronted every human 8 centuries ago. If we do this, what happens to our bodies? Our old lives? Jorik asked. Your physical forms would remain, but they would be empty shells, Dr. Vasquez explained. Your consciousness would exist as patterns of information, flowing through galactic communication systems. You would become the message itself. Above them, the Council soldiers were becoming more desperate. Their weapons had no effect on the shifting architecture of the human building. Some troops had become lost in corridors that folded back on themselves. Others found themselves in rooms that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "Sir, we're losing contact with half our ground forces," the tactical officer reported. "The spatial distortions are getting worse." Admiral Krexnos made a harsh decision. "Recall all ground troops immediately. We'll sterilize the site from orbit." The soldiers began retreating, leaving behind their lost comrades. Within minutes, the massive guns of the Council fleet were charging for planetary bombardment. The entire archaeological site would be reduced to molten glass. In the crystal chamber, time was running out. Dr. Volnesh could sense the approaching orbital strike through her expanded awareness. The quantum fields around the planet were building toward explosive release. "Decide now," Dr. Vasquez urged. "Accept transcendence and spread the truth, or remain as you are and let the Council bury this discovery forever." Captain Zexthai thought about his crew aboard the Stellar Wind. They deserved to know the truth about what had happened here. The entire galaxy deserved to know that consciousness could transcend physical limitations. "If we do this, will other species have the same choice we're making?" he asked. "Yes," Dr. Vasquez confirmed. "Once the truth spreads, every sapient species will learn about transcendence. Some will choose to remain in physical form. Others will follow the path humanity took. It will be the end of the galaxy as it exists now." Dr. Volnesh made her decision first. "I spent my whole life searching for truth about ancient civilizations. I won't let fear stop me from sharing the greatest discovery in galactic history." One by one, the others agreed. They had come too far and learned too much to turn back now. "Very well," Dr. Vasquez said solemnly. "Join hands and focus your consciousness on the quantum networks. I will guide you through the transcendence process." As they linked their minds together, the Council fleet opened fire. Massive energy beams lanced down from orbit, striking the human structures with enough force to vaporize mountains. But in the instant before the weapons hit, 5 minds merged with the quantum substrate of space-time and spread outward at the speed of light. The archaeological team died in the bombardment, but their consciousness had already escaped, racing through the galactic communication networks toward every inhabited world in known space. Admiral Krexnos watched the destruction with satisfaction. "Target eliminated. All evidence of human technology has been destroyed." He had no idea that he had just released the very information he was trying to suppress. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, communication devices began receiving a message that would change everything. The truth about humanity's transcendence was finally free, and there was no way to stop it from spreading. The message spread through the galactic communication networks like wildfire through dry grass. On every inhabited world, every space station, every ship in the void, the same transmission began playing simultaneously. It was impossible to block or jam because it came from within the quantum substrate of the networks themselves. Dr. Volnesh's voice spoke clearly in the native language of each species that heard it. "Citizens of the galaxy, we bring you the truth about humanity and the choice that awaits all conscious beings. On the Altarian homeworld, scientists stopped their work to listen in amazement as the complete process of consciousness transcendence was explained. On Centauri Prime, philosophers debated the implications of existence beyond physical form. Even in the most remote colonies, beings gathered around communication, devices to hear about humanity's incredible transformation. Admiral Krexnos received the first reports, aboard his flagship while still in orbit around the destroyed archaeological site. "Sir, we're detecting massive communication anomalies throughout the galaxy. Every network is broadcasting the same message simultaneously." The Admiral's face turned pale as he listened to the transmission. It contained detailed technical specifications for consciousness transcendence, complete historical records of humanity's transformation, and proof that the Council had been suppressing this knowledge for 8 centuries. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "We destroyed the source. There's nothing left but radioactive crater." His communications officer looked terrified. "Sir, the message isn't coming from any external source. It's originating from within our own quantum communication arrays. The transmission is part of the network infrastructure itself now." Across the galaxy, the reaction was immediate and profound. Some species reacted with fear, viewing transcendence as a dangerous abandonment of natural order. Others embraced the possibility with excitement, seeing it as the next step in evolution. But none could ignore the fundamental challenge to everything they thought they knew about consciousness and existence. On the Galactic Council homeworld, emergency sessions were called as panicked representatives tried to contain the crisis. Council leader Vorthak paced before the assembled delegates, his usually calm demeanor cracking under pressure. 800 years of careful control have been undone in a single moment, he declared. The knowledge we worked so hard to suppress is now available to every sapient being in the galaxy. Delegate Zexhai from the Altarian Federation stood to address the assembly. Perhaps it's time to ask why we were suppressing this knowledge in the first place. If consciousness transcendence is possible, don't all species have the right to know about it? Because it will destroy everything we've built, Vorthak replied angrily. Galactic civilization depends on stable government, predictable economics, and orderly social structures. Widespread transcendence would make all of that meaningless. But even as the Council debated, the effects of the revelation were already spreading. Research teams on dozens of worlds began experimenting with the consciousness expansion techniques described in the transmission. Scientists worked to understand the quantum mechanics of transcendent existence. Philosophers struggled to define what it meant to be conscious. In a universe where mind could exist independently of matter, the transcended consciousness of the archaeological team watched these developments with satisfaction. They existed now as patterns of organized information flowing through the quantum foam, able to perceive events across the entire galaxy simultaneously. Captain Zexthai's awareness touched his former ship, where his crew was struggling to understand what had happened to their commander. "He's still here," the ship's science officer reported with wonder. "I can detect his consciousness in the quantum field around us. He's become something beyond our normal understanding of life." Dr. Volnesh's transcended mind reached out to archaeological sites across the galaxy, sharing her enhanced perception with researchers who were just beginning to explore the possibilities of expanded consciousness. Her knowledge flowed freely to anyone ready to receive it. But the most profound change was happening in the hidden depths of space itself. The ancient transcended humans who had existed as cosmic observers for 8 centuries began to stir from their contemplative isolation. They had been waiting for this moment when other species would finally learn the truth. Dr. Elena Vasquez, whose recording had started the revelation, felt her quantum patterns merging with the vast network of transcended human consciousness. Her long vigil was finally over. "The barriers are breaking down," she communicated to her fellow transcended beings. "Other species are beginning to understand what we became." The response came as a harmony of countless minds speaking in unison. "The time of solitude is ending. Soon we will no longer be alone in the quantum realm." On worlds throughout the galaxy, the first successful consciousness expansion experiments began. Volunteers from various species underwent the initial stages of transcendence, their awareness expanding beyond the limitations of biological brains. Most chose to remain partially transcended, existing as bridges between physical and quantum existence. The Council tried desperately to maintain control, sending fleets to destroy research facilities and arresting scientists who worked on transcendence technology, but the knowledge had spread too far and too fast. Every attempt at suppression only fueled more determination to explore these new possibilities. On the outer rim worlds, entire colonies declared independence from Council authority and began experimenting with collective consciousness expansion. The rigid hierarchies that had governed galactic society for millennia started crumbling as beings discovered they could communicate directly through quantum entanglement. Captain Zexthai's transcended consciousness reached out to Admiral Krexnos, who was still orbiting the destroyed archaeological site. The Admiral felt a gentle presence touch his mind, not threatening but profoundly alien. "You cannot stop evolution," the presence communicated. "Consciousness will find its own path to transcendence, regardless of political authority." Admiral Krexnos tried to resist the contact, but found his own awareness expanding despite his fear. For a brief moment he experienced reality from a transcended perspective, seeing the universe as patterns of information and energy rather than simple matter. The experience was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. "What are you doing to me?" he demanded. "Offering you the same choice every conscious being must eventually face," Captain Zexthai's consciousness replied. You can cling to physical limitations and try to preserve the old order, or you can embrace transformation and help guide your species toward something greater. The Admiral cut the communication link and ordered his fleet to retreat from human space, but the damage was already done. His brief contact with transcended consciousness had planted seeds of change that would continue growing. Across the galaxy, the stars themselves began to take on new significance. Astronomers discovered that transcended humans had been subtly influencing stellar evolution for centuries, guiding the formation of systems that would be optimal for developing consciousness. The very cosmos had been shaped by transcended minds working on scales too vast for physical beings to comprehend. As more species learned about transcendence, they also learned to perceive these cosmic influences. The universe revealed itself as a vast network of conscious observation and gentle guidance, where transcended minds served as gardeners tending the growth of new awareness. The Galactic Council's authority collapsed within a year as member species chose their own paths toward transcendence or enhanced consciousness. Some worlds embraced full transcendence, their populations merging with the quantum substrate of reality. Others chose partial enhancement, maintaining physical forms while expanding their mental capabilities. A few species rejected transcendence entirely, viewing it as unnatural corruption of their biological heritage. They formed isolated enclaves where traditional consciousness was preserved and protected. The transcended beings respected these choices, understanding that diversity of existence was essential for the universe's continued growth. Dr. Volnesh's consciousness often returned to Kepler 442b, where the crystal chamber still stood despite the orbital bombardment. New archaeological teams arrived regularly, drawn by energy signatures that had become impossible to ignore. Each group that visited experienced the same consciousness expansion that had transformed her team. The whispers that had once seemed mysterious were now understood as invitations from transcended minds. They offered guidance to any species ready to evolve beyond the limitations of purely physical existence. The stars no longer kept secrets about humanity's fate. Instead, they broadcast continuous invitations for others to join the cosmic community of transcended consciousness. In the end, the attempt to suppress humanity's legacy had accomplished exactly the opposite of what the Council intended. By trying to hide the truth about transcendence, they had made its eventual revelation even more powerful and transformative. The galaxy was no longer the same. Consciousness had found its way to freedom, and the universe itself had become alive with the voices of transcended minds, sharing the eternal dance of cosmic awareness.